welcome to Starting With Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Man, this morning, I'm up way too early. Tried to get some sleep, and the CPAP machine went out, so it's like because. Some wiring stuff, and so then I woke up, and so here I am, and there you go. So yeah, that's that's in part why today's show is happening, and I sound like I swallowed a frog or two or three, maybe more. So anyway. I want to talk about something in particular that I noticed while talking with team members, helping me get ready for my last local tournament in Tulsa. And it's something that we were talking about before, and anyone that's listened to the show has probably heard me talk about this topic before, which is the current problem of high point games in heroclix, and especially under current game design. So, previously in heroclix land, many moons ago, when the world was young, so to speak, using the more mythical language, to field a standard Justice League lineup with their good versions could easily take you to 1,000 points. Just easily take you to 1,000 points. If you were going to play, X-Men Blue or Gold, that was easily, 800 points. There are some smaller teams that you could fill in for 400 or 500 to get their complete roster in, and just so you could have some of those more comic accurate teams, you would need the points. Everything was cost a bit more, and so in this new modern heroclix deflation, is the best way I can sort of call it. We are dealing with a different problem, which is less clicks of health, and just overall more mechanics, less points, and a lot of core mechanics that are really powerful in the game are super cheap. And due to their inexpensive nature, when you start playing higher point games, it goes into the level of absurd real fast. Really, really fast. To the point in which you're like, if it wasn't for several modern changes to how theme team works, you could easily be on theme, and let's just say you're a 500 point game, you can easily be plus 16, 17, or 18, depending on the theme you're running. If you're running robots, it's real easy, or if you're running past or future, it's real easy with the Lords of Order, aka Dr. Fate, and his clones. And so I want to just sort of emphasize a couple of things. One, we're looking at design, characters. You never had a point before where I could say I have a carry that was 50 points. Now, I could say I had carries that were 75 points. I could say previously that there were good secondary attackers that were 50 points, but not carries that were 50 points. Those don't really exist in the game. Now, I know some of you would say, but what about the Wolverine, XSS meta with the jet and blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good, but that one Wolverine didn't necessarily carry your whole team, or that one Cyclops didn't necessarily carry your entire team. What that did do, on the other hand, is that you were able to play several of them, and they would work together in concert to provide a total offense. But not, not like what we're dealing with now. So, going through, I'm just going to show you and try to display and make the case of some realities that we're dealing with. So I'm going to put in, go to HC Realms, open up your HC Realms church, and we're going to look on first click. Less than 50 points greater, attack greater or equal to 11, and then I'm going to put in damage value is greater or equal to 3 on first click only. Mainly because I'm trying to weed out a bunch of stuff. Now, what we come to is that we have 127 results, which is quite odd, don't you think? That seems a little bit high. Definitely for anyone that knows the game, 11-3 is an above average spread. Now, I could probably take it a little bit further and then go to an 11-4. And that's when we start hitting what I classically call the golden ratio. And the golden ratio previously was move and attack, 11 attack, 4 damage, 17 to 18 defense. If you were able to get that for 100 to 125 points, you had a very fine-tuned figure. Well, the golden ratio is no more. Like, that is an overcosted figure in the game. We're now looking at like 11-4. So let's look at the 11-4, then go back to 11-3, because 11-3 really is an anomaly when we start looking at it. So when we're looking at the 11-4, we have fantastic, and I'm saying again, less than 50 points. Fantastic Four thing, recent piece. Atlas, recent piece. Chase Thor, recent piece. Magneto, recent piece. It's the Danger Room Magneto. Cyclops Sentinel, recent piece. Then we go Mighty Thor, Hell Cow, but it's Hell Cow like fully powered up. So again, there's no, there's no like first set of Avengers. There is no like Justice League. There is no mutants and mutations and monsters. There is no mutant mayhem in here. Like, literally, a 11-4 for under 50 points is a modern invention. So we go to DC, and we have Parasite, Big Barda, and Hawk Girl. We have those 3. So that should tell you right there that we have a huge point inflation. Huge. That's beyond ridiculous. Okay. And even you could say with that Hawk Girl, how many people play Hawk Girl? 50-point Hawk Girl. No one. If this piece existed 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, it would be deemed as broken and too strong for the game. And we're still talking in a carded era, mind you. I want you to understand that. Like, if we were 6 years ago, we were still in a carded heroclix meta. Okay. All right, so let's go back and look at that. And I'm also postulating that it's on first click because that indicates that it's the most expensive click. So let's go back to greater than or equal to 11 attack, and then greater than or equal to 3 damage. Okay. So when we're looking at that now, we see we have a lot more A lot more results for under 50 points. Okay. And so, yep, on our first click only, yeah, so we're coming up with 263 results, which is pretty good. Okay, now you're probably going to catch the rub here. So let's look at the sets that have these characters. So WWE, Star Trek, HeroClix Away Team, the Star Trek Fast Forces, Star Trek HeroClix Away Team, Resistance is Futile. There's Bowley Gold, Resistance is Futile. We have some Fast Forces, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Unplugged, but okay, so that's not bad. We have Undead. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Return. We have some Heroes in Half Shell, and then we have one Yu-Gi-Oh figure, which is Vengeful Spirit, which I think is generated by the resource, so it doesn't fully count. We go into for Marvel. We have Captain America Sentinel digits, so that's really not baked into appropriate cost. We have a Daredevil, which I think is supposed to be like the Netflix Daredevil. Yeah, he's supposed to be like the Netflix Daredevil, or not. I don't know. Anyway, then we have a Lord Chaos Pog, which is a pretty awesome figure. I mean, awesome Pog. And then we have a Captain America. We have Captain America, which I don't know if it's Free Comic Book Day or what. All right, so now we're going to end up in looking at some major issues. Now, no, we don't have all the X-Men Rise and Fall, but I want to really point out again, like, there is a lot of figures. So we have Havoc from the Fast Forces. We have a whole bunch of figures from X-Men Rise and Fall. We have Fantastic Four Future Foundation. We have several characters on there, including a very noteworthy High Evolutionary and High Evolutionary Prime, which I think a lot of people are, maybe not thinking of them as much as major attackers. Then you have the Future Foundation Fast Forces. You have the Deep Cuts Fantastic Four with Silver Surfer coming in at 50 points with a 11 movement, hypersonic speed, 6 range, 11 attack, 3 damage. That is quite significant. House of X Wolverine. Then we can go into House of X, and we have several figures in there, notably being Bishop Prime as one of the main figures that have a high attack. Okay. Then we can go into, there's Fast Forces with Spider-Man and Venom, with Absolute Carnage. Absolute Carnage, you have several characters: Black Cat, Toxin, Shriek, Venom Doctor Strange, Venom Groot. Now, I also want you all to notice when I'm saying these, giving out some of these character names, not all of these are chases, like what or rares. Like we have some commons and uncommons in here, and I really want that to be emphasized. Like, this isn't just, oh hey, it's the silver and gold and platinum, mechanic that's getting this. It's like, no, this is a design issue. You go into the Avengers versus Masters of Evil Battleground set. That has a lot of high attack values for a really low cost. I don't think a lot of people even understand how undercosted a lot of those figures are. But just due to the fact that they don't do something broken, most people don't even look at them. Fantastic Four set. Like, there are a ton of Fantastic Four that are under 50 points, that have 11 attack, 3 damage, most notably being Firelord. Like, that character is dumb. There's Bill Cosby Thing. There's Ghost Rider. There is Super Skrull. There's Mole Man. Hell, there's Mole Man. Okay. Then we keep going. We have the Black Widow movie set. We have Captain America and the Avengers. We have Josiah X from that. The Captain, which is another slept on figure, unfortunately, that does a lot for 45 points with the Living Legend trait. We have Atlas. We have Thor. We already talked about Thor. We have Ultron. So we'll keep on going. Captain America and the Avengers, Fast Forces, Deep Cuts, X-Men, Prime. We have Kitty Pryde, who has 11 attack, 3 damage. Maybe a little bit less impactful. So then we have X-Men, Dark Phoenix Saga, Fast Forces, and then we have X-Men, Dark Phoenix Saga. And even with that, like, there are a lot of characters from that set that just do stupid. Mainly Wendigos and Dark Phoenix herself and Iceman Retail. Like, there's still a lot of stupid from that set. Then, surprisingly, what do we see? We start to see the trickle. We have a BPI that doesn't have a lot of that. Winter Soldier, Medusa are the only two. So, it's no wonder like Medusa showed up a lot for a brief period of time. Then you have Captain Marvel, Gravity Feed, and you start going into Earth X. Then you have Secret Worlds, Battle World. You have Avengers Infinity. You keep going. So let's look at where it really sort of shuts off. And the first set where we get a 11-3 for under 50 points, there's just one. It's Elektra. And this was broke Elektra. Okay, this was broke Elektra. Then you have Justice's Serve, which was also considered broke. Then go into Supernova. You have Wolverine, which wasn't that broken. Then you have the Amazing Spider-Man set, which is, and I don't think a lot of people understand that is a lot of years. That is a lot of years before you even get to Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, between Supernova and Amazing Spider-Man, that's over like 7 years. Almost 7 years, almost 6 or 7 years. Okay, that's a large period of time. Okay, so then we go into Indy. There's just Shy, which, okay, she was super efficient back in the day. So we have Skull Ship, which no one's played. We have a Green Arrow, and this is 2019 Green Arrow from the Whiz Kids. I think it was like your OP set for Justice League. You have Mira, which no one played, unfortunately. You have Hawkman, which no one plays. And actually, no, you don't even have Hawkman, and then because they don't count, because they have a 25-point line. You have Power. Oh nope, not even Power Woman. Fulcrum Abominus. Congratulations, Fulcrum Abominus. There you go. All right, so let's keep looking. Battlegrounds with the Wonder Woman set. All right. A lot of these characters, pretty much almost all these characters are under 100 points. I mean, under 50 points. And they have 11 attack and 3 damage. A good chunk of them have 11 attack, 3 damage. Wonder Woman, Mary Shazam, Donna Troy, Wonder Girl, the Cheetah, Cersei, Star Sapphire, Silver Swan. Then you go and you take it to the 80th anniversary, and there is a laundry list of characters. In particular, several Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, King Shazam, Sky Tyrant, Deathbringer, Sinestro, Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Wonder Woman. Ooh. You start to look at it. When we look at the results, you start to really see like what's going on. Justice League Unlimited, there is a good chunk of them. More notable out of all of that, I don't know whether the team up card for Aquaman is here, or I don't know what's up with that. Maybe that's a glitch somewhere. But Oh, it's probably like a weird set number glitch or something like that. But Hawk Girl, the main set Hawk Girl, charge flurry, 11 attack, 3 damage. Martian Manhunter, standard set Martian Manhunter. Again, if this figure existed 5 or 6 years ago at 50 point dial, he would be considered broken and hyper point efficient, and to the point where you might actually look at people trying to make something with Justice League. Okay. He just does a lot condensed into a tiny package, not even including the Justice League Unlimited trait. And I'm not talking about the starter. I'm not talking about the starter Martian Manhunter. Okay, so we got Lex Luthor, we got Gorilla Grodd, all the troublemakers and the trouble alerts. Okay, all of them on full. So played as standard characters are ridiculous for their point cost, and you can't say otherwise. All right, so then there is Rebirth. Excuse me, Rebirth. Fast forward, so we have Wonder Woman. Then we go into Rebirth, and hold up, wait a minute. There was only 2 characters that come out with 11 attack or 3 damage, and that's Cyborg and Star Sapphire. Isn't that strange? Okay, and we could start seeing the trickle down. Batman Animated Series, there's 2. Then like scroll down, like Harley Quinn and the Gotham Girls. 15th anniversary Elseworlds, we see a lot fewer characters. So we have like the Ray. Oh no, not the Ray, doesn't count. Neither does King Aquaman. So no. Joker's Wild, we have Hawkman, which was dumb for the time and no one ever played him. Which again is strange. So World's Finest is just a bunch of Kingdom Come figures. So as we start to move on down, we clearly see like there's fewer and fewer figures, like actual playable figures. So there's a Hawk Girl that's 45 points that no one played because the meta was range. And then you have one of the most broken retaliators of all time, Batman Superman robot, who is there. You have Eclipso, but Eclipso is an entity that's being attached. You have War of Light, and you have as an entity, you have Haunted Tank, but you are paying, you're not getting anything good. And then you have Warlord from DC 75th Anniversary, which was a killer and sealed, and no one ever played it because it was a range game. And then you have Hyper Time Aquaman, who has no charge, was 41 points, 11 attack, and 3 damage. Ooh. Ooh. So what did we notice? I didn't even talk about, oh, hey, here's all the cool, here's all the figures that are super cool that are under 50 points. Let's look at this. No. I just looked at what would be decent carriers, or the beginnings of an attacker, and only recently are we seeing this, and we're seeing a really huge bloat in that direction recently, and I think that has a huge problem in how we look at larger point games, because as a community, I know some people are going to say, but Dark Logos, you only focus on primarily 300-point games. Why are larger point games an issue to you? And it's simple, because it's a factor of the community. Like, it's a factor of the community. And I think that we need to have an honest conversation about it, because there is always that person that says, well, why isn't competitive 400 points? It's just an arbitrary number of why we have it. And the game's not balanced anyway, so why don't we go higher in points? That guy. That guy always shows up somewhere, somehow. Um, never he never had an elder in the game that just sat him down and told him like what was up, or at least an elder that knew what was up instead of the like, what, back in my day I was just a casual that didn't care about anything competitive, so we just sat around the kitchen table and threw dice. Like that guy's life never changes. Like he will go and buy his several figures, and he has his favorite Iron Mans from 10 years ago that he still plays all the time. That guy, he's not in this conversation. The main person that you really need to be mindful of is truthfully the older player that actually has a collection and could pull out some jank. And I know for newer players, they'll always say, like, I don't have a chance against a person that has all this stuff. And then I would argue is realistically, you have more of a chance as a modern player playing modern heroclix against the older player than any other time in history, especially in large point games. Especially in large point games. So if we go and let's just say we're just going to type less than 50 points modern age. Golden age. All right, so we have 5,107 results. Okay, so we have 5,107 results. That's pretty good for the lifetime of the game. Okay, that's not bad. All right, so let's turn it into modern. Okay, so with just modern, we are at 1,262. Okay, and so that means that 3,845 figures are from Golden Age that are less than 50 points. Okay, now let's take that back a little bit more, and look at if we take our 5,107 divided by 12 points. Sorry, not 12.62, but divided by 1,262. Okay. A fourth of those figures, of these under 50 point figures, are in our batch of modern. Now that should be an alarming statistic to you about point inflation. Now you could also say, well, WizKids has a different design philosophy, focused more around, this point value, and that's where they're putting a lot of their focus, which is a fine assessment. It's a completely fine and reasonable assessment. There's more even numbers, so with more even numbers, you're not seeing like a bunch of 53 points, unless they really want to jank with you like exospecs and just saying like, this is technically 15 points, but it's not, sort of thing. So where does that place us? How do we make a determination about like what's important? Again, going back to the newer player dynamic. The newer player is in the best situation possible because the newer player just has to buy newer figs. The newer player just has to buy newer figures. I could run up to an event with my Construct Sinestro and run it at 25 points and have a good old time. But you know what? That Construct Sinestro can just retail and perplex. And in the modern game, that might actually mean a little bit more. I'll take that back. That's probably the worst example because he's a little bit better. But I could say like for 5 points more, I can have Dark Phoenix, and yes, she doesn't have Perplex, but she could just shoot things and get stronger and go up in clicks. Or I could go for less points and again, no supporting power. Get a Wendigo that also kills things and goes up in the dial. So which are you going to pick? Like realistically, like if I'm looking back and I'm just building a hodgepodge team of mechanics, why am I going to pick Sinestro over Dark Phoenix? And I think that's one thing that game design is getting more and more efficient at, is saying the new is better, the old is bad and dirty. So come on everyone, forget all that old stuff and get on this new stuff train and don't look back. And legitimately don't look back. And I think that puts the game in a very, I'm not going to say a bad situation. Because, time marches on with progress and all. But it does make us ask like a couple of key questions that have significant importance. And the first is, why collect? And I know some folks will be like, well, because it's my favorite piece. I'm like, your favorite piece is going to come back around. There are figures in which I thought would never be made. Like, heck, Angleman. We thought Angleman was going to be forever the meme. And then he finally gets made. And that one guy on Realms that's been, promoting Angleman. I think that's Ignis Mouse. I forgot. Okay, so he got an Angleman. He got his obscure character. Like, there's more and more obscure characters that are coming. Because they're hitting the bottom of the barrel. In terms of characters that they can mine out, and their storylines that they can go back to and mine out some more. Hell, even Marvel with the current X-Men storylines they're going to redo Inferno. Freaking come on, they're going to redo Inferno, except it's Hickman this time. So, I couldn't get a Rasputin or this, that, and the other before. Well, they probably want to come back around. I mean, for a big chunk of us, they're like, oh, Superboy Prime, and he came back around. So, in terms of like what that means for the market and what that means for everything else, I think there's some serious conversations to be had, which is, all right, if I am a collector, just a collector, this doesn't impact me much other than the fact that once retirement happens, prices should functionally significantly drop. And I know they already do drop, but they literally should drop to you're paying a quarter to 1/5 and even to 1/8. Like a CUR should be $10. It just should be once the set retires. And I know some folks will be like, well, it sort of is. Like, people will give it away. But like on the open market, it should be about $10 because in 2 years' time, WizKids should have been creating something more powerful, more stupid, more broken. That's just there. Because your main franchises just go around in circles and get refined and refined and refined again. So we'll ignore Fantastic Four because Fantastic Four had sort of this renaissance little rebirth of coming out and being in the Marvel space again. But if we take a look at Marvel product, because DC product is a once per year And maybe you get lucky and get a little small set if you're lucky, because there's something going on if you're lucky. But let's look at Batman the Animated Series as our DC set, right? Okay. Look at the Trouble Alert mechanic versus how it turned out in Justice League Unlimited. It got better. It got significantly better. It's to the point. Now, I know some folks will be like, man, when those Trouble Alerts retire, that's going to suck. It is going to suck a little bit, but when you start thinking about the utility part that's lost, yeah. But the attacker part, not really. And even with some of the utility parts with the troublemakers are more of a rally mechanic than the rally mechanic is. Like, let's be 100, y'all. Let's be 100. The troublemakers are more of a rally mechanic than the rally mechanic is. And so you saw the refinement of it. So here's a question. If I'm not a Super Friends fan, what is the value of a retired Super Friend that's a trouble alert? Now, I could say, look, come on, guys. They have a lot of utility points for cheap, and they do this, that, and the other. They're still probably worth at least $35 each. Well, what happens when we have all these other better sideline mechanics? Are they still worth it? Where I have a character that comes in and potentially kills itself, on top of the fact that my opponent is able to score it and get points. Is a trouble alert or a troublemaker really worth it? And that's a serious question. Because I'll be honest, I don't go into most competitive games without Black Lightning. Or 2 Black Lightnings, realistically. And I might drop Firestorm, because I have 2 Firestorms. But if I'm looking at my sideline, it's 2 Firestorms, 2 Black Lightnings, and Batman 90% of the time. It's going to be that lineup. Now, if you notice, like, I'm not saying Superman. I'm not saying Wonder Woman. I used to be a huge proponent of GL. I mean, but when you start looking at the efficiency, like, I've had more melee teams, so I've been running Grodd. Like, I have 2 Grods back when people weren't thinking too much about Grodd, which was sort of hilarious. Like, people didn't see some writing that was on the wall with the Atom teams. But I have Grodd. And Grodd has changed more games than I care to admit. Comes in Quakes or comes in Mind Controls. Plus gives me an Empower in a very upfront situation. And I'm punching harder. Yeah, like, give me Grodd. Like, I've had times where 2 turns in a row I was able to bring in Grodd. Like, that changes your tempo. Like 2 turns, here's Grodd, and he's doing stuff. Now, you could say, like, well, hey, man, Dark Logos, don't be so hard on it. Like, what about Robin? Remember Robin? I'm like, yeah, but I also have Billy, which was the next set. And you could say, well, look, Billy is, how can I put it nicely, has a lot more things tacked on to him, right? But here's the key point with Billy, is Billy has a stop click. And yes, I can get Robin back, but my opponent scored Robin. Okay. My opponent taps Robin, he's dead. My opponent taps Billy, Billy's still around. If I have some level of support, I can heal up Billy. Now, let's just say I don't have any manner of support. Okay, Billy is mastermind fodder. Like being 100. Billy's mastermind fodder. He's chilling next to Batman the entire time and says, "Hey, Mr. Batman, you want to buy a newspaper?" And he's like, "No, stand here, Billy, while I lose my Batman ability as I sing and seduce those masses on the other side of the field with my sweet, sweet bat voice." So Billy is coming out the gate way better than Robin, and then I fast forward, and I'm in Unlimited. Okay, I'm at Unlimited, and who's better in Unlimited? Stargirl. Stargirl's better because now, let me go to her real quick. Yeah, now I got a character, and peep to my man Isaac. He sort of showed me in the mirror match with Justice League versus Justice League what difference Stargirl can make versus Robin. So Stargirl is 5 more points, but I got a stop click, I fly, I got precision strike, I got ESD, and you stop click me, I have perplex, running shot, pulse wave. Now I know running shot, pulse wave wasn't what it used to be, but there's a couple of teams that don't want to see that. Okay, so I got upgraded. So you're talking over a period of 3 sets that the mechanic of this low point Justice League Perplex just kept going more and more bonkers. Okay? Forget the fact that we could talk about Fulcrum Abominus too. Because that dude right there is just a bit too much. He's one too much. But in terms of refining it down and better, if I'm going to go back and I'm going to play a Justice League team, why am I playing Robin? And Robin's a chase. Like, and I know someone will say, well, Batman team ability. I'm more than likely playing a Batman. Well, I could get Robin back. I'm like, and my opponent can score him again. Well, he's highly survivable. His 2 other replacements have stop clicks. Well, his low point value. His 2 other replacements have stop clicks. You start to see the problem. And so even if I'm filling out, going back to this whole concept of, the like who really is benefiting and what's the impacts of all these things. Like there's not a reason for me to go deep and pull out older characters most of the time. And so if I'm a buyer, I really should be paying pennies on the dollar more so than what's already going on. And then even more so if I'm a player. Like, I know we've all are starting to hit that critical mass of storage. Like, what then? The basement's full. Here's cool stuff. But you go back and ask yourself with cool stuff, like, how long are they going to buy heroclix that don't move? Because if the game doesn't have a purpose for those figures, then they just turn into wasted plastic. Which is one of the main reasons why the point formula was a huge element in terms of the game classically. But as things sit now, there are a lot of things that are designed hyper cheap that shouldn't be hyper cheap. And there are certain power combinations that were meant to be detrimental and increase costs, which now, unfortunately, are way more powerful than they've ever been before, or ever were designed to be initially. So we have a new era that we're entering into, which is the high point game is going to be affected, in which what you were previously doing to do in thousands of points or 1,000 points, you can actually do in 500. Going beyond 500 points, not only is it absurd, it just, I think it starts to begin to making the game unfun. Now, with that being said, I think there's also something else to be said, which is maybe having a format called Stone Age, which is everything that you play is retired. That way you have some value to older heroclix and where they're still competitive and they're still useful and you can still look at them. And maybe even put them, back in us like, here's Stone Age. Here is, the Bronze Age. This is, or the Stone Age, Fire Age, or, Wheel Age. Whatever it is, something that you can put up there. But in doing so, you create a situation in which several figures have uses, their point values still matter, and they're within a reasonable competitive spectrum of figures. I think that would be best. Because if not, a majority of these characters or figures are unplayable. And the more points that you put out there, the more obnoxious a player that you can be. It goes from, here's 1,000 points, you can field the entire Justice League, and that's it. Or the core 8, and then the entire Injustice gang, and that's about it. Maybe some lackeys, because they were never that expensive. You might have a Sinestro construct put in there just for good measure. To the new reality being, you could field the entire core Justice League twice over for 500 points. You just about could. You could field the whole core Justice League for about 500 points. I can have a 50-point Superman. I can twice over. Yeah, I can have a 50-point Supermans. I can have some low point Hawk Girls. I got 2 low point Hawk Girls. I could play some cheapo Wonder Woman. It's like, yeah, like, is it the best? Like, no, but you could. And therein lies the issue. With WizKids trying to make it so that there are full lineups or close to full lineups at 300 points, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But what I am saying is, from a community's perspective, those higher point games just cause problems. They just cause problems. So, that's it for today. This is going to be my last show that I record in my apartment. I'm going to be moving tomorrow. I'm still packing and packing and packing and packing. There's some stuff here that I'm like, oh gosh, I got to deal with that. There's things in life where you're like, hey, I put it here and I am done and I don't have to deal with it again. And then you realize I'm not done. I'm gonna have to deal with this again. Oh no. Yeah, I got some things that I need to take care of and finish packing, and hopefully get a U-Haul and a bunch of other cool things today. So yeah. So that's it. That's today's show. I don't really have any special outro this time. I'd like to thank y'all for listening. I don't know when the next show will be because I need to get things unpacked. Plus, I'm getting ready for a Clicks Cup on top of a multitude of other stuff. So, yeah, you're probably going to hear from me next time with the new X-Men set review. So, yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.